fantastical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Superfan Takeover here on the SNL Network. My name is Sammy Kay. So excited to be back in the hosting chair this week with the OG Superfan crew. I love chatting SNL with these guys. In fact, love is in the air tonight because tonight, me and the Superfans are going to celebrate Valentine's Day by talking about our favorite sketches that deal with relationships, dating, sex, all those fun things. So whether you're spending tonight with a loved one or swiping on the dating apps, you chose to also spend it with us, which we really appreciate. Before I get into how tonight's episode is going to go, let me reintroduce you to our great panelists here. First, we have Andrew Haskell. Haskell, how you doing, buddy?
Why, hello, super fans. I hope you don't mind. I wore something a little extra comfy for tonight. I have a drink. Why, yes, it is lemon lime Gatorade. And I'm just excited to be here.
Fantastic. And next we have Haynes. Haynes, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing excellent. I was up way too late last night and I had to get up way too early this morning. So I'm struggling a little bit, but I've watched a lot of SNL lately and very excited to talk about these most sensual moments in our SNL history. Should be very fun.
Yes, lots of fun stuff in store tonight. And finally, we have Bill Kenney. Bill, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, Sammy. Full of lamb shanks and rabbit haunches. So ready to get in the hot tub and discuss some of these wonderful SNL sketches.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this was an interesting this was an interesting topic for us to discuss tonight. Over the years, there have been, a lot of obviously, slice of life sketches that deal with these topics. We have a lot of fun categories to have as an avenue for our conversation tonight. Not as many Valentine's Day sketches as you would think, but definitely sketches that, fit the theme. And an additional thing to tonight's episode is the Olympics are here. I don't know if people are watching the Olympics. I'm sure you are at home, but we're switching it up this week, an Olympics format for tonight's episode, where each category is going to be awarded each sketch in each category. We're going to award a gold, silver, and bronze medal. Gold worth 3 points, silver 2, bronze 1, and whichever super fan at the end of tonight's episode has the most points is going to be crowned. The SNL Network Cupid. They're going to get a little bow and arrow and some wings. I don't know if we have the budget for that, but we'll find out. But enough of my banter. Let's get into tonight's episode. All right. The first category we're going to discuss is couples. These are sketches that have to do with, characters in a relationship, what's going on, what kind of situations are they getting into. And I want to go to Haskell first on this one. Haskell, what did you pick for this category?
There was no other option. I've said it. I think every Superfan Takeover we've had, it's my favorite sketch in SNL history. It's the perfect gift for a couple. Dick in a Box. I love Dick in a Box. It's my favorite sketch. It's the one singular sketch that made me want to grow up to do comedy. It's the sketch that, I first got in trouble for singing at school. It's the first sketch I can remember bringing to school and telling my friends. It's your dick in a box. It is so stupid and so simple, yet is one of the greatest things that SNL has ever done. I would never give it as a gift in real life, and unless, hey babe, no, I wouldn't. But it's just the ultimate sketch.
Yeah, Dick in a Box, very versatile sketch here on the Superfan Takeover. We've had, our Lonely Island special. We've had our Christmas special. It's you can say the gift that keeps on giving. Haynes, any thoughts on Dick in the Box?
Well, it already sounds like we're playing pretty fast and loose with these categories. I guess I interpreted couples in like a different way. I didn't know, listen, a dick is a great gift from one member of a couple to another, no doubt about it. I'm not hating on the pick at all. It is, as Haskell said, one of the all-time great sketches in SNL history. So, I mean, you said we have talked about it on multiple Superfan Takeovers. We've talked about it on, Christmas episodes. We've talked about it on the Digital Shorts episode, and there's a reason that it keeps getting mentioned. It's as good as SNL gets. So, I don't have a problem with it.
Let me interject. Every single holiday, a dick in a box. If you're spending every single holiday with somebody,
Okay. All right.
you in a couple.
Okay. All right.
That's a good point. I don't know if Valentine's Day is name checked in the song, but I imagine, Justin and Andy would approve of that gift on Valentine's Day. I guess anyone else have any thoughts on this one before we move on? I mean, I feel like we've talked about this sketch enough on this show. Moving on to Haynes. Haynes, what do you got for us tonight in the category of couples?
Well, I did not expect. Honestly, I thought that the top of my list would be off the board immediately, and so now I have a little bit of a conflict because I'd kind of internalized that I was going to pick Boston Teens with Jimmy Fallon and Rachel Dratch, which are so good. I thought that I had a chance of losing that to Haskell. Because he's in Boston, but if as long as it's still on the table, I mean, I feel like I have to go with the Lovas. To me, that's the ultimate couple in SNL history. They did this sketch many times. A couple of them with Christopher Walken. In one, he plays a guy named Walter who's dating Anna Gasteyer, and another Maya Rudolph, I think. But they're in the hot tub with Jimmy Fallon. Basically, they're these recurring characters who constantly, it's a little bit too much information. They're constantly groping each other and talking about the ways that they like to treat each other's bodies in the bedroom. And there's always at least one person in the sketch, obviously, who's made uncomfortable by this. Rachel Dratch and Will Ferrell are two of my all-time favorites. So I'm shocked that this wasn't off the board first, but I feel great about taking the gold home in this category already.
That I think the reason why I wasn't picked is because I dropped the ball and not announcing at the beginning of the show that this is the Lovers edition, as the branding of tonight's episode is the Lovers edition. We'll never know. Had I said that at the beginning, if Haskell would have been like, you know what, I've gone to the dick in the box so many times, but good pick, Haynes. Bill, I'm going to bring it over to you. What are your thoughts on the Lovers?
Well, just as with love, fate has interjected, because if I had gone first, Lovers would have been off the board. This fantastic pick ran few too many times, but the one with Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore is an all-time classic sketch, especially what we found out later on, that Will was secretly touching Jimmy underneath the water. It's one of the few acceptable times that Fallon is breaking in a sketch that I think it's okay. This was great. Their pronunciation of words like hot tub and Hernandez, all the different kinds of spiced meats that they love to eat, and of course, it ends with, after the other couple is left and, Will's complaining about his back. Get off of me, my back, my back. So they're no longer the Lovers that they were making themselves out to be. So great pick. And best couple for sure, I think. But I've got a good one, too.
Ooh, already maybe, giving up the gold on that one. I don't know if that's a smart play with the secret judge, lurking in the shadows here, weighing which picks they're going to pick. This is definitely a solid choice. As I was making notes for this episode, I wrote down a very funny quote from the Drew Barrymore one. Somewhere in the distance, we heard the pounding of native drums. Was it in our minds? We don't know. Just a classic line. But yeah, definitely a good choice. All right, Bill, you alluded to this being your pick. What was kind of the alternative here for this category?
Let me make clear that it was 1 and 1A. So even though Lovers would have been my first pick, this was a close second because I know these guys and I know it could have gone really quickly as it did. I'm going with an all-time classic that we've seen multiple times over the last 43 or so years. It's so popular that it aired in the 25th anniversary, the 40th anniversary, and sadly, the night that Gilda passed away on a Saturday night, and Steve Martin happened to be hosting and ran this sketch on a live episode 11 years after it had first aired. I'm going with Dancing in the Dark with Gilda and Steve. If you don't recall, it's that it opens in a dance club and there's disco music playing, and Steve and Gilda notice each other from across the room, and the music kind of stops, changes to an orchestral tune. Everybody else freezes in the scene, and Steve and Gilda dance around the studio, alternating between funny and poignant. It was just an all-time classic sketch. It was one of the few times we really got to see the entire 8H stage in that era. It's kind of fun to see it now, how much it's changed over the last 43 years. And then it ends with them going back to their seats, the disco music playing again, and they haven't even noticed each other. They're strangers in the night. So yeah, I feel like even with no words in this sketch, it's the perfect mix of funny and poignant, and Gilda is a treasure. So that's my pick.
See, this is the reason why I both love and like, I don't, not the word hate, but like having Bill on the show, he's always picking something that I'm like, oh, that's the perfect choice for this category. And just because of, how SNL names their videos, it's not one that popped up when I was, searching for something to talk about in tonight's episode, but really good pick. Haskell, I'm going to bring it over to you. What are your thoughts on Dancing in the Dark?
Great selection. A great example of like SNL doesn't always have to be this big joke machine. Sometimes it can just be a premise, and it can be a premise that's, like Bill said, poignant or just sort of like cute and, nice to see. So obviously not the most, side-splittingly funny sketch that they've ever done, but a really enjoyable sketch. So a good selection.
Yeah, and so it's just such a it's such a unique pick, and it's it's cool because it's a little artistic with the camera work, and but it's got this balance of warmth. So I didn't think about it, didn't cross my mind at all, to bring in that element. It's not something that you see on the show a ton, but you do from time to time. There's always Lauren's always liked a little bit of warmth. So that's kind of a sneaky good pick that I did not see coming. So yeah, that's a good one.
Definitely sneaky good pick. Bill with the sneaky good picks should be your tagline on the show, which leaves me with another sketch who when we're talking about categories, again, we play a little fast and loose, but I think, I might get a little crap for this pick, but maybe not. We'll see. Based on the category. It's another sketch that I find to be, emotional, poignant, as well as very funny. A character who was on the show for many years and a cast member who was on the show for many years, did this sketch as part of Weekend Update. I went with Stefan's Farewell because who is the, obviously, we talk about, the kind of Colin Jost, Leslie Jones Weekend Update relationship, but the OG sort of, relationship on Weekend Update, at least for my era, was the Stefan Seth Meyers pairing. There's so many great things about this bit where, they have Amy came in for the finale to, be a part of the desk with Seth. And then it just so happens to be, Bill Hader's last episode. Obviously, it starts off with a bunch of classic, Stefan lines. One of them being, New York's hottest club is pants. That's always a good one. And then Stefan announces that he's, kind of tired of Seth, stringing him along, and says he met someone new, and he runs off, and people in the audience, like, you can, their hearts are breaking. You actually hear, like, in the studio audience, people being very upset about this. And then obviously, Amy tells him to run after Stefan. It cuts to a pre-tape sort of bit where you see all the past Stefan, characters that have been referenced in all these clubs that he's gone to. Turns out he's marrying Anderson Cooper. Got the great line with Anderson Cooper saying, get ready for Anderson Cooper, 360, and goes in for the punch Steph Myers. We got a Ben Affleck cameo in there because he was in the original Stefan sketch before, it was even on Weekend Update. And then it ends with, them back at, the Weekend Update desk, and all of the classic characters from that era in the background, sending them off. So I just thought it was, an incredibly emotional, but also funny, perfect send-off for a classic SNL character, cast member, and fictional couple. So that is my pick.
Can we, in that sketch, also give a shout out to DJ Baby Bok Choy for kind of playing interference and allowing them to get out of there? Just a great sacrifice on his part.
Yeah, we can definitely give a shout out. But anyone have any thoughts on Stefan's farewell?
I like this. This was sneaky as well. And the trajectory of Stefan on the show. Nobody could have seen this coming at the beginning of Stefan showing up on Weekend Update. Just kind of gradually built through all the different appearances. And I love the pre-tape of them on the streets of New York. You don't get that nearly enough in this era. So great pick.
Anything with Stefan is a great pick, really. That's all I have to say.
So just to refresh everybody on the picks in this category, we had Haskell with Dick in a Box, Haynes with The Lovers, Bill with Dancing in the Dark, and myself with Stefan's Farewell. We do have our judge here in the background. We'll be waiting to hear their picks for this category. Does anyone have any thoughts on how they thought this went?
The rumor is, I heard the rumor that our panel is made up of Lorne and Steve Martin. Is that true?
I can neither confirm or deny this one. I just want to keep the mystery out there.
It is a heck of a mystery, and I hope the audience is feeling the anticipation the way that I am. We're waiting for these picks to come in. I believe they're coming in right now. As
we speak, I am ready to announce. Haskell, do you have anything to say here?
No, I'm good. I think each state gets a certain amount of delegates. That's how we're doing.
All right. So the bronze winner for the couples category is Dancing in the Dark. The silver is Dick in a Box. And I swear, just because I'm announcing this, it's not rigged. The gold goes to Stefan's Farewell. So we got some points on the board. I mean, I'm not going to say it's because the name of the show is The Lovers. It might have been an easy pick. I don't know. But
you named it the show after the pick.
I'm not the judge. I'm not the judge. We have a secret panel of judges, but we can't go in and see what their mindset was. We're just gonna have to live with the decisions that were made and move on.
I know we can't go against the judge. It's like a secret god that's completely omniscient, and we're just gonna trust everything that comes from the judges. But I am shocked, absolutely shocked, that the Lovers didn't even make it on the medal stand. Team Andrew is about to boycott for political reasons.
Haynes, I think they call it the podium.
It's tough. It's tough.
The medal stand.
What's a stand where people get up there and get their medals? I thought a podium was a thing that one person stood at. Is there a three-pronged podium? I would challenge you on that.
Hundreds of years of Olympic podium.
And engineering has come a long way to where podiums can have a couple different spots. But Haynes, I like this passion coming from you Yeah, you've got this fire underneath you. So that's why I'm going to go to you next for this next category to start us off. So we just did the couples category. And moving on to, don't have a great name for this category other to say it's sexual situations is I think what we got to, intimate moments on the show, obviously the not ready for primetime players is, what started off SNL, and, after dark, things can get a little raunchy, so just getting that mindset as you listen to Haynes' pick in this category. Haynes, what you got?
All right. Well, there kind of is a lot to choose from here. There's certainly been plenty of, awkward sexual situations on SNL over the years, far too many to count. So there was a lot to go through here. And listen, there's a lot of characters that are near and dear to my heart. I particularly love Fred Armisen as Regine when she's acting very, when she's, turned on by her boyfriends, whenever her boyfriends always bring her around as the new girlfriend. You've got the classic Continental. I feel like was so popular for so long. I feel like I saw it rerun on, on Comedy Central for years and years and years. But I think I'm going to go with one that is, from modern times. And listen, we know that Lauren doesn't love breaking. Obviously, breaking can, bring a sketch down if it feels cheesy or it's starting to goof up the lines a lot. But when breaking goes right, when it's genuinely hilarious and people are trying not to cry laughing, but they're still getting the lines out and the plot points are still moving along, I think that can make for a really, really great sketch. And that is exactly what happens in Girlfriend's Game Night. So this is 80, Melissa and Heidi are, going to have a card night or something. And Cecily shows up, bringing her new husband, Bill Hader, as Horace, who's about 90 years old. And Cecily's probably supposed to be 30 in this sketch. We immediately learn that, he is on Cialis and it has kicked in. They're trying to get pregnant. And he starts yelling that it's a good one, so we can't waste it. Cecily's character politely has brought a blanket to cover up this sex act that she's planning on doing in the room for this girls' night. And obviously the girls are a little shaken by this. 80, I think, tells her straight up, "You can't do that, old man here." And Cecily says something like, "I can walk and chew gum at the same time. Like, let's play cards," or something. And so it's very funny. He keeps ramming into the table in this cart. Everyone is crying or trying not to cry. They're laughing, breaking the whole time, while Hader keeps yelling, "Oh yeah. Oh yeah." He crashes his little motorized buggy into Melissa and pushes her in the table about halfway across the room. And it's absolutely full of breaking, but to me, it is they're golden laughs. It's kind of the reason we watch SNL. It's funnier, I think, in this moment than they ever could have imagined on paper. And so that's why I'm picking this as my favorite of these sexual situations category sketches.
God, I'm not gonna lie, that's a pretty good pick, and not one that I encountered on my rewatch this weekend. Really solid pick here from Haynes. I'm gonna go over to Bill on this one. Bill, what are your thoughts on the sketch?
We were talking pre-show that one of the interesting things about doing this is, unlike Halloween or Christmas, it's harder to find these, and a lot of them could fall through the cracks through 47 years. I didn't rewatch this. I have a recollection of this happening because it was so funny. Bill Hader playing an old man always works. So that's a plus for sure. Cialis stick jokes always work, as we just saw last week with the Nugenics ad that was on the current episode. So yeah, I mean, this is a great current pick for sure. I like this.
Definitely. Haskell, any thoughts before we move on?
Just extra points, like innuendos and puns can usually kind of slide through, but I was shocked that they could kind of get that on the air on network TV, even late night, like to say, right under this blanket, we're supposed to be having sex. I was surprised that they got away with that. So I think probably extra points for that.
Definitely. The judge will have to keep that in mind, the FCC of it all for this category. All right, cool. Let's move on to Bill. Bill, what is your pick for this category?
I came back and forth between two iconic sketches to me. One from a while ago, and I won't mention it just in case it does come up if one of you guys do pick it. But I'm going with the current cast as well. It's from season 42, and it's called Bedroom, with Melissa and Aziz Ansari. They're a couple lying in bed. It's their Sunday appointment for sex, and Aziz wants to spice it up. So he's trying to come up with different ways, and he's wants to do some dirty talk, and Melissa really can't get along with it. She can't figure out, so she just yells, "What's up, bitch? I make more money than you." Then he says, "Well, why don't you call me daddy?" And she just starts calling him dad, which is so uncomfortable and so inappropriate. And it just kind of escalates from there. And she breaks out her Owen Wilson voice by the end, which is one of the first times we saw her do something like that. But yeah, I mean, this is the slice of life we're always looking for on current SNL. And it's also a good example. This was Melissa's first season. The hope that we had and the sadness that we have that she doesn't get into sketches like this anymore. This was such a great sketch for a first year cast member, and we haven't seen a lot of this since then. But yeah, this is my pick, Bedroom with Melissa and Aziz from season 42.
Yeah, definitely a bittersweet pick for us Melissa Villaseñor fans, because would have loved over the last couple years to see a lot of these Melissa-centric sketches on the show. She did actually also do this with Donald Glover, maybe like a season or two later. But yeah, I'm going to go over to Haynes on this one. Haynes, what are your thoughts on the Bedroom sketch with Aziz and Melissa?
Yeah, this was funny. And, as we recently referenced, they've done this a couple times, and I thought it was good both times, and so it's pretty solid. Melissa really shines in this too. She's in obviously she's been in a lot of sketches, not as many as she would have liked to have been in, as we know, but she really shines in this one. She's nailing her lines. The cue cards aren't tripping her up like they did last week when she almost fell on her face. And so, so a good pick. Sorry, Melissa. I'm not trying to beat up on Melissa.
Another line that I had written down from the sketch, because there's one I was thinking about, was they're role playing, and Aziz is starting to get into it, and then she goes, "I'm the baddest girl in 6th grade," and he's like, "No." She's really good at playing that sort of innocence, but with a tinge of the raunchiness. Very, very good pick. Haskell, anything before we move on?
I'm good. They kind of wrapped it all up.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go on to you then for your pick for this category. What you got for us?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that pun and innuendo can sort of slide through, and this might be one of the greatest examples that SNL has ever done of it. If we're talking about sexy situations, this is kind of alluding to a sexy situation. I went with Colonel Angus. I believe Tina Fey and Paula Pell did it. I think it's Tina Fey's humor at its best. It's just a great example of what she does well in her writing. The entire sketch is just innuendo after innuendo. It's a great live sketch because there's actually, if you go back and rewatch it, they show Colonel Angus on the banner at the beginning. Then Rachel Dratch actually says Colonel Angus, and there's not much reaction from the audience. And then they go over to Amy Poehler, who says it quick, Colonel Angus, and the audience gets it, and that's what gets the laugh. So there's kind of this slow build to it, and it just keeps going and going. And then right at the end, friend of the show, Jeff Richards, actually gets to, no one's really playing it, the straight guy in the sketch, and he gets to show up at the end and kind of be a little disgusted by it. But just one of the great sexual innuendos in not just SNL, but to kind of ever be on network TV.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is one I haven't watched in a while. The titular Colonel Angus is Christopher Walken, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So didn't even put that in his pitch that the great Christopher Walken is the Colonel Angus. I don't know. If I'm the judge,
everybody knows. Everybody knows Colonel Angus.
I'm writing that down.
Everybody knows Colonel Angus.
But no, great.
Not everyone knows Colonel Angus, actually, Andrew.
That's DJ Khaled is out.
They're gonna have a rough Valentine's.
All right. Well, Bill, do you have any thoughts on Colonel Angus?
Oh, Haskell touched on most of it. I mean, what an unbelievable set of wordplay to keep it going as long as they did. I do like the line where they say, once you have Colonel Angus, what was it? Once you have Colonel Angus, you'll never settle for anything less, or something to that. Yeah, I mean, there's so many fantastic lines in this. The fact that nobody really breaks in this as well is plus points for me. And I mean, Walken clearly game for anything, and even in one of his later appearances, he was down to play the good old Colonel.
Yeah, and a recent first-time host of the show, Willem Dafoe. If Christopher Walken ever wanted to, give up the mantle and they wanted to bring Colonel Angus back, could be a solid. I would have to think about another pun, because you can't do Colonel Angus. It'd have to be another sort of pun. But I think I would like to see that in the future. That's a freebie for the writers there at SNL. But all right, I am going to move on to my pick for this category. This is one that was like a late breaking find for me. One that, I make my list, and then, I kind of let the YouTube rabbit hole lead me down a path of recommended sketches. And I stumbled upon one that, well, not really stumbled upon because I've watched it a bunch of times, but it's been a while since I checked out Totinos with Kristen Stewart. I think they did this sketch 3 or 4 times. I thought they were all really great, and this maybe was the best one. I've fortunately, as part of the show, I've been able to talk about how much I love Vanessa Bayer as one of the greatest cast members of all time. And this character was one that she brought back, a couple times, and every time they were able to reinvent the premise. And in this one, she's got to feed her hungry guys for the big game. And this time, I think Alex Moffat, brings his sister along with him to the party. And, she says, all right, more hands to help make my delicious pizza rolls. And as she, sees Kristen Stewart, the kind of slow motion, sensual music starts playing. And just so many great lines in this sketch. One of them being Kristen Stewart asking Vanessa Bayer, "What's your name?" And Vanessa Bayer goes, "I've never had one." And they really use the imagery of the pizza rolls well. They're rubbing it on Kristen Stewart's face. They touch hands. On the pan with the pizza rolls on them. She says at one point, "What about my hungry guys?" And then Kristen Stewart says, "Well, what are you hungry for?" And also, it's got Kristen Stewart in it, who just recently got nominated for her first Academy Award, which is very exciting. And I just think overall, not only was this a great Totinos sketch, but it was maybe the best one. And they were able to keep escalating it throughout. At the end, Vanessa's smoking a cigarette. They're lying, naked on the table, and you can see them in the background. There's one shot, like a wide shot of all the guys looking at the TV, and they're just like, laying on the island in the kitchen in the background. So just a really funny pre-tape. So my pick is the Totinos with Kristen Stewart. Anyone have any thoughts on this one?
Like so much of SNL, it's funny because it's dumb, and I love dumb humor, as I've said over and over again on this show. So pretty good pick.
Bill, Haskell, anything to add here as we tally up the votes?
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that Beck and the guys have no idea what's going on, literally 5 feet from them. What are you guys doing back there? Making out? And, they're lying naked on the table as it's happening. Yeah, I believe this was the end of a trilogy of Totinos. So it ended on a very high note, and great performance by favor of the show, Vanessa.
Definitely. Yeah, the votes are starting to come in, Haskell, before this could be your last chance to sell it. What are you thinking?
No, I just was going to say that I think when you go back and watch a sketch like this, you realize there's a lot of great female talent on the show right now, but they have not replaced Vanessa Bayer and some of the stuff that she was able to do and some of the places that she was able to go.
Definitely. I mean, it's really interesting. I was thinking about this today. I was watching a sketch that I have a feeling might come up later, so I don't want to allude to it, but it's one of those music video sketches that all the girls did together. And it's interesting to me that Vanessa only joined the show, 2 years before, Kate, Adi, and Cecily, and they're all still here. She left, it's going to be like 5 years in May. So it's just crazy to think, just the slight difference in, when you join the show, how much longer you can stick around. But we have the results. The results have come in. And, this one, our judge wants everyone to know at home that this one was really hard. That's what she said. Literally, she said that. But the bronze award is going to Girlfriends Game Night. The silver medal is going to Totinos. And the gold goes to the bedroom sketch. So let me give everybody their points here. I'm going to bring it over to, Haskell looks really upset. How are you feeling right now? This, we're about halfway here. Are you where you want to be?
Yeah, I didn't know this panel was anti-Colonel Angus, is all I'm saying. I didn't know. I don't want our fans. We got a lot of fans out there of both of any gender. And I don't want the people out there thinking that this superfan panel, the judges, that this entire network stands for anti-Colonel Angus. It's not right.
It's tough. It's tough, man. Just sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches, I guess. But I'm tallying up the votes over here. I do want to give everybody an announcement on who's in the lead, who's doing well. Anyone want to fill time while I do this?
The other sketch that I alluded to, I don't think it'll come up because it's many moons ago. But the other one that almost got my pick for sexual situations was the Heather Locklear episode in 1994 with her flirting with Kevin Nealon across the bar. And there's no words in that sketch either. They're just kind of looking at each other and giving looks, and then they kind of one-up each other. So she drinks out of a pitcher of beer, and then Kevin does the same. She kisses a random guy who happens to be Chris Farley, and he kisses Norm Macdonald, which are the only words in the sketch. Norm goes, hey, 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 as only Norm can do. And eventually she drinks poison, but it's actually water, and Kevin drinks poison, but it's actually really bad poison, and he dies. She takes his wallet. It's an underrated sketch from very maligned season 19, but one of Kevin Nealon's best performances on the show.
Definitely. I am here right before we move on to the next category to announce the points so far. Tied for third place, we have Haskell and Haynes, each with 2 points. Bill is in second with 4 points, and I currently in the lead with 5 points. Again, just because I'm announcing the scores, I swear there's another judge. But we're going to move on to the next category here, the dating category. So, again, another hard sketch to kind of, look up online just to see where, how SNL is labeling these things. But I'm confident that the Superfans have some exciting picks for us. And I think I'm going to go to Bill. Since we haven't started with you yet, Bill, what is your choice for the dating category?
This may have been the hardest category. There are so many good choices for bad dates. It's kind of a timeless thing. You know, if you watch a sketch from the 70s or the 80s, it's still mostly relatable, despite it being a very long time ago. But I'm going to go with something that's not too long ago. It's from season 38, and it was Double Date, which was Cecily and Kristen coming back for her first hosting gig. And they're on a double date, and the first thing you see is just the two of them, you know, talking to these guys you can't see, and then it cuts to the guys, and it's Bobby Moynihan and Tim Robinson as sixth graders, and they have no clue that, I mean, they know that they're young, but they don't, you know, acknowledge it. Tim Robinson orders buttered noodles, and, you know, Cecily's like, "Oh, such a guy," and you know, they talk about, you know, most daring thing they've ever done, and they're talking like sixth graders do. You know, I rode a jet ski, and this just turns Cecily on so much, and, you know, I want to see you again. Did I say that? And this is one of those rare occurrences. I love, this is one of the best things about an alumni coming back, even though it was only a year after she left. Cecily upstages Kristen in this. She's the main protagonist in this, and Kristen kind of plays the straight person in this. Like she lets Cecily get all the good jokes and flirt with Tim and things like that. If I had to guess, after seeing, you know, I Think You Should Leave, this had to be written by Tim Robinson. It's so in his wheelhouse. And yeah, then it ends with, and Taran Killam, let's shout out to him as well, who plays a waiter who anybody who's ever waited on tables has done that ridiculous laugh to a joke that's not funny, as Bobby describes. I drank a whole liter of root beer and I had a really loud burp, and Taran just breaks out in uncontrollable laughter. The perfect sketch, and you know, everybody in it does such a great job.
All right, it's the first time tonight that my pick was taken off the board in the first round, no less. So, you know, I still got some time to recover, but no, this was one that you know, I didn't particularly remember from, you know, when I was watching back in, I think this is like 2012 or 2013. But when I watched it today, I'm like, oh my God, I have to pick this. I mean, every time I go back to this era of the show and I see Tim Robinson pop up in the sketch, that makes me happy. And yeah, lots of good lines in this one, but I want to hear from Haskell. Haskell, what are your thoughts on Double Date?
What a colossal error in judgment on behalf of the show to let Tim Robinson go. Obviously, he's in the cast for 1 year, and then they actually move him to the writer's room for 1 year, and then he's gone. Huge mistake. I have such a fondness for season 38 and season 39. You know, 38 is when, you know, Kristen and Andy Samberg had left. 39, now you're down Armisen, Sudeikis, and Hader. And I think a lot of the humor in those two seasons has Tim Robinson and Mike O'Brien's like fingerprints all over it. That sketch is one of them. I love this sketch. It's almost like a painful thing to revisit, though, because there is an era of SNL that's kind of lost. If you think about that sort of humor with, you know, Taran Killam, Vanessa, Jay Farrow kind of running things, and we never really got that for an extended period of time. So it's kind of a bittersweet selection there.
Definitely, and I feel like you know, one of these days on the Superfan Takeover, it would be a fun topic to kind of talk about the what ifs of that era, if it was, you know, as strong as, you know, the era before and the era after. I think that could be a fun show. Haynes, any thoughts on Double Date? It seemed like this might have maybe been your pick based on your reaction.
You know, I don't know that it was going to be the one that I fired off as my pick, but I was constantly just kind of flip-flopping between like two or three, and this was one of them. I think this is so good. Yeah, you know, as we've kind of covered already, you know, these women are like very flirty. They're kind of presenting themselves as like classic basic B professionals who are just like, you know, like, oh, what are you guys into? Dinosaurs? What do we know about vodka? And they're just like, and they're very funny, and they're impressed by everything these goofy little kids do. As we said, you know, Cecily really does. I think she does steal this sketch. But Kristen is not without a few good lines. I think, yeah, after he says, I drank a whole liter of root beer and then burped real loud. And I think, and one of them says, like, when was that? And he's like, at my birthday last week. And Kristen goes, oh, a Taurus. And I thought that was like a really great line. The whole thing was just really, 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 really funny, full of great lines. Yes, reeks of Tim Robinson. Absolutely love it. It might have been my gold. I vacillate so much that, like, up until the moment we really don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. But this is one that I thought so much about. Really, really love it. Great pick.
For sure. I'm going to move over to Haskell on this one. Haskell, what is your pick in the dating category?
The second I read dating as a category, this was the sketch that popped into my head. And then I did some research. I jumped around. I thought of some other sketches, but this is the one that stuck with me. It's from season 43. We get this setup of host Gal Gadot sitting at a table with an older looking Kenan Thompson. And we get this really nice slow burn where they're just making conversation. We can tell something's not right. And finally, we realize that it is recently released from jail O.J. Simpson. I love that they took a little bit of a risk here because the joke really doesn't set in until like a minute into the sketch. And he starts asking her about, the war in her home country. And that must mean she didn't really see a lot of the news in the 90s. So it's like one of those things where you don't see where it's going at first. And then once it happens, you're like, how did I not see that? So it's a great reveal and they keep it going. They bring him over all this food because he just got out of prison. And then there's really great physical comedy because, of course, they give him a plastic butter knife because they don't trust him with a knife. And Kenan is trying to cut the steak with it, and this knife is wobbling, and so really good physical humor in there as well. And then it just kind of pays off with the end with him saying, "I still got it." So that sketch has stuck with me for a few seasons now.
All right. I think this is how this category is going to go for me. Is I'm just going to scramble here at the end, and that's okay. That's what happens as the host. You get the big hosting gig, and you got to just take it how it goes. Bill, any thoughts on the first date sketch with O.J. Simpson?
If SNL had done this kind of biting OJ humor in the 90s, it would probably be more fondly remembered. They kind of avoided it. They did a bunch of ridiculous sketches while he was on trial. The only one that really sticks out was when he got called back to NBC to be on the football show, and he writes out, "I did it," as Will Ferrell stands there just gawking and can't believe it. But this was perfect OJ humor, as Haskell touched on. You don't know where it's going, and that's when SNL is at its best. Like, it really kind of gives you that slow burn. Is this just a regular dating? Is this just a regular date? What's happening here? And then finally figuring out that it's OJ, and then all the stuff that comes after it. Great sketch from the last couple of years for sure.
Oh, absolutely. All right, Haynes, I'm going to bring it over to you, unless you have any thoughts on this one before you give us your pick.
Sorry, having a hard time getting that button sticking for me. All right, have to comment on this. I think we have some great discerning minds on this show because, as we said, this might have been the hardest category. There's just so much history of sketches of bad dates. I mean, they're timeless, and the trend has certainly never stopped celebrating them. So there's just tons and tons of content. But this is the first category so far where all of my top picks are coming off the board. So I had 4 sketches that honestly I could go with any of them, and 2 of them have gone already. Both these were amazing. Like Andrew said, the slow build where you don't know where it's going, and then you start to realize what's happening. And it's a great escalation. You're almost kind of sweating along with Kenan as we go through this series of questions. So I thought this was a fantastic pick. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I guess I can just go straight into my pick. So with those off the board, I do know what I'm going to pick as my overall favorite, but before I do that, I want to just throw a little love to Blind Date with Nassim Pedrad and Seth MacFarlane. I thought that was a really great sketch. This is another one this is what rounded out my top four. So it was those two, this Blind Date, where, they're both very dorky and they start like doing voices back and forth. I'm all like, I'm Tom Brokaw, listen to my voice. And I'm all like, abort date, not cool. And they start going back and forth, and it's very funny. And their friends start coming over and they're getting in on the gag. The people passing by, and even Bill Hader is a waiter and they start doing his voice. But then that's actually his voice. And they're like, hey, don't make fun of, whatever Bill Hader's character's name is. So that was a really great one. But I think my favorite date, and I hope I'm not being loose with the category here, I did consider dating shows as dates, because it's basically one person trying to go on multiple dates at once, getting to know multiple people and see if they want to have a second date. So my pick overall is going to be the Irish dating show. And so this was, Beck is the host. Hader is the guy who's trying to get a date. And he's got these three women on the panel. Kate, Adie, and Cecily. We learned pretty quickly that Cecily is his cousin. And strangely, that doesn't disqualify her, which Adie cannot believe. And then while Bill is asking some questions of Kate, and she talks about, coming back to the pub where they can crash because her dad owns the place, we learn that Kate is one of Bill's cousins as well. And maybe it's Beck that says like, whoa, this race just got a lot tighter. So it's really funny. They make a lot of jokes about like inbreeding in Ireland and stuff. It's very funny to me. I didn't take any of it as offensive. Beck makes some sort of comment like, now very rarely is there a non-cousin picked when there are two cousins on the dais or something. And it's just the whole thing from top to bottom. I was crying, laughing. Maybe incest is funny to me. The accents were funny. Although, listen, the accents aren't bad. I've heard some bad Irish accents on the show before, and everyone I think worked on theirs a little bit, at least for this. So to me, Irish dating show is one that I go back and watch. Now I realize I can watch it for multiple holidays. I always watch it for St. Patrick's Day. Now I'm going to watch it for Valentine's Day. So Irish dating show, that's me pick.
Very fun pick here, Haynes. We might need to mark down the 54-minute mark and get that sound bites of you saying, maybe incest is funny to me. But now I just said it. So I really just dug myself into a hole there. I'm going to turn it over to Bill. Bill, what do you think of the Irish dating show?
This is very, very funny. And even though I'm half Irish, I did not find offense in this either. I will not say those words, so you can't use it as a soundbite on me. The dating shows, it was hard because there were so many good ones. I kind of went back and forth between the It's a Date one from season 38 when we get the Fistrunk brothers back with the Dick in the Box guys. So I made a conscious decision not to pick a game show just because that made it even harder to me. But yeah, this is a great pick, and I think definitely it counts as a bad date for sure, especially if you're dating your cousin.
Absolutely. All right, I think let's move on to my pick. I'm honestly torn between a couple choices here because my top ones were kind of taken from me. But I think I'm going to go with Date with a Child Psychologist. This is a sketch with Nassim Pedrad as the child of Alec Baldwin. And in the sketch, he's on a date with Vanessa Bayer, and basically Nassim Pedrad is playing his kid who throughout the entire date is just being incredibly cringe in the background, just trying to, ruin this date. And every time, Vanessa Bayer is like, should we, check on her? Like, it seems like she needs something, whatever. He says, if you make eye contact with her, you give her power, which I thought was a very funny line. And, I think the thing that really works for me about this sketch is Nassim Pedrad. This is, it almost reminded me of the character that she plays on Chad, her show, where, she's just really good at encapsulating these kids that just like really annoy you, and that like are very, selfish and self-centered, but, maybe it's coming from, a good place or have a heart of gold. Maybe not so much in this sketch, but there's a very funny part where she climbs up onto like a bookcase, and she says like, I'm in the plant if you want to talk, just trying to get the attention of her dad, and it's it kind of escalates, and there's tapioca thrown on Vanessa Bayer, and it's qualifies as a bad date for me, a really bad date. So this is my pick, the date with a child psychologist. I'm gonna go to Haynes on this one. Haynes, what are your thoughts on the sketch?
Pretty good pick. I hadn't thought about this. I had completely forgotten about this, honestly. But it is a good pick now that I'm thinking about it. It's obviously there's a lot of great jokes in this, and situationally, very funny. So I like the pick
for sure. And as the votes are tallying in here, I want to give Haskell the opportunity. Do you have any thoughts on this sketch?
It's just go down that what if. Well, again, like Nassim Pedrad was so good. I think she, you want to talk about the stats. She has to like lead all of SNL in like time played as a kid, like in the all-time cast. Like she spent like 40% of her time on the show, like playing a kid. So, props on that one. While we're tallying the votes though, I'm kind of surprised, knowing the panel, two Lonely Island sketches that came up when we talked about Lonely Island, not coming up as dates. So I don't want to go into them too much in case anybody saved them for their wild card. But two specific kind of date related Lonely Island sketches that I'm surprised they're not.
Yeah, we're getting to the point on the show where there's like, all these sketches that we love that we've talked about before, but I want to challenge myself personally. That's how I, go into these, like, what is something I haven't talked about? It's hard to keep track of exactly, everything in this head of mine, but we do have the votes in here. So I do want to not waste your time and start going through these. The bronze medal goes to the Irish dating show. The silver medal goes to the first date with OJ. And the gold goes to date with a child psychologist here. Oof. So Haskell, I don't know. I don't know, buddy. You're turning into the Lindsey Buckingham of this episode. I don't want to. I will read out the score though now and say that in fourth place we do have Haskell with 2 points, Haynes in third with 3 points, Bill in second with 6, and myself with 8 points. Again, I'm not rigging this. Haskell, I do want to go to you. How are you feeling? You got one more category to really seal the deal here.
I don't know how you can pick a sketch and then 3 other people on the panel like, yeah, that was like one of my top sketches. And then it doesn't show up in the top 3. So Lauren, Steve, Illuminati, whoever's back there, all right, recalculate your numbers, all right? Stop the count, recount, whatever you have to do, and get the correct calculation.
This is very tough. Oh, Haynes.
Privilege and oppression are two sides of the same coin. And what I see is over and over and over again, it just seems everything goes Sammy's way And that's just and every time it happens, it's just a blow to poor Haskell over here. You're not doing any favors for me. I'm barely surviving. It's this very, very, very curious situation. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, if I can go back in time, I would have taken the double date sketch. That was my top choice. And this is very
and yet
timely.
It didn't place.
It's very timely, but
Tim Robinson got screwed again.
Dune got 10 nominations at the Academy Awards and did not get the Best Director nomination. So sometimes, that's just how the numbers turn out. But, Haskell, because you are in this predicament, I'm going to let you go again and start off this category. And with your wild card pick, maybe choose wisely on this one. Get some points on the board.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to choose wisely because I'm going to stick to my guns on what I had. And I'm going to play fast and loose with the rules because I'm going to pick an all-time sketch. And when we're talking about, the Lovers episode, we're talking sexy. We're talking a little risque. You got to find yourself in a kind of risque situation. Like if you were to find yourself on a nude beach, the Conan O'Brien classic nude beach, where he just decided to see if he could get penis said on network TV as many times as possible, which is it's said over and over in the sketch. I love the sketch because the setup is it's a majority of the male cast at the time. Dana Carvey's in it, Kevin Nealon's in it, Dennis Miller's in it, and John Lovitz is in it, with Matthew Broderick is the host. And they're at a nude beach, and Matthew Broderick is, feeling a little awkward. And I feel like the basic kind of comedy rules would to set them at a nude beach and then kind of play off of everything else except for the fact that they're nude. Like most comedy situations would set up, we're going to talk about everything else. And they absolutely smash that wall down. Matthew Broderick and Dana Carvey walk over to Kevin Nealon, and the first words out of his mouth are, "Hey, small penis." And everything on their mind is about their penis. There's a great line where they're showing pictures from vacation, and they say, "Hey, your dad looks great. Hey, you got his penis." And it's just penis, penis, penis. It's to me the best thing Conan O'Brien ever wrote for the show. It is an absolute classic. And then it's also to me one of the best things Kevin Nealon ever did on the show, because then he breaks the fourth wall at the end and says like something like, "Oh, the standards and practices like quit. So we wanted to talk about something serious, which is like how we're all the same, even if we have a small penis." And I'm really disappointed at the laughter I heard during this sketch. And I'm starting to think there's no room for this kind of discussion on the show, which is just brilliant.
I think we got a few other good sound bites in there from your pitch there, which is fantastic. But no,
penis.
Really good pick there, Haskell. I'm gonna bring it over to Bill. Bill, do you want to chime in on the nude beach sketch?
Completely groundbreaking. Nothing had ever been done like that. And the only thing that you can compare it to in the last 25 years is South Park saying shit 148 times in an episode and breaking down that wall. But this was network television, even though it was later at night, and it was about 5 or 6 years before that happened on South Park. So I firmly believe this is the reason that Conan got late night. I think Lauren saw the potential just from this very sketch. Brilliantly done. The way everything is placed, and even get the girls involved. I think Nora and Victoria walk through and talk about his small penis as well. So yeah, this is an all-time classic sketch for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Haynes, I'm going to bring it over to you and, talk about the sketch or, move on to your pick in this category.
I don't have a ton to add except that, I think Conan is a genius. I always have. I didn't particularly like Leno. I did like Letterman. I loved Conan. in high school, I would stay up late to watch Conan, and that was the only late night show that did it for me like that as a young man coming up. So I've always just loved his. It's a mixture of both dry and absurdist, comedy, and I think that everything he does is great, and so I love anything that he's in, and this was a great pick. Fun pick. The wild card category is wide open. This never would have crossed my mind, but very fun.
Yeah, and Haynes, do you want to go and give us your wild card for this this category?
So listen, this was a tough category too, and there's a lot of great, I think, honorable mentions. It really came down to a few of them for me. So I hope I'm not spoiling anything for for you. But I really liked. I'm not going with this one, but I really liked the CVS commercial where Beck and Bobby are shopping for stuff, and you like realize it's Valentine's Day last minute. I like that sketch a lot, but the one that I'm going with, since I did foreshadow this earlier, I suppose, by saying that any pick is great if it includes Stefan. I'm just gonna talk about Stefan's Valentine's Day appearance on Weekend Update. Stefan's gold every time. So this is a real, and this directly relates to Valentine's Day. There's definitely not much stretch going on here. So I like this pick. He introduces us to, of course, the hottest club in town, as always. And this time it's called Booth. And it was opened by a lady named Snoozin' Lucci. That's one of the clubs. And Seth is, of course, going like, come on, like that sounds ridiculous. He's, haters talking about all the crazy stuff that's going on in these clubs, as he always does. And Seth says, come on, give me something more realistic. And so so the second club he names is not something that I can pronounce. It's something that he blurts out in a harsh, I'm guessing is supposed to be Japanese accent. And then he says that it was built by like clubpreneur Fuji Hauser MD, which I got a little bit of a laugh out of. And it's just so funny talking about, he says it's got everything you want, ice cold air, and it's full of Jupids. And Seth, of course, wants to know what a Jupid is. And he says, well, they're Jewish Cupids who just want you to find someone nice and settle down. And that's the point where Bill really breaks, he basically is always breaking as Stefan because Mulaney will change those jokes up at the last minute. Maybe this was the one that he threw in there that threw Bill off because he seems to really get thrown off by that one. And then, of course, as always, he's saying something inappropriate. And so, of course, he says that that Seth should give his wife a human suitcase, which a human suitcase, of course, is when a little person wears all your clothes and then you put them on roller skates and pull them through an airport. And so he makes this very offensive joke. And it's just, for me, it's hard to turn down Stefan. So Stefan has a Valentine's Day bit. It had to be on the board at some point for me.
Yeah, I mean, someone who picked Stefan earlier in the night here, definitely a solid pick. I'm going to turn it over to Haskell. Haskell, what are your thoughts on the Stefan Valentine's Day bit?
What was the quote? Any pick that's a Stefan sketch is a good pick. I'm going to stick with that.
For sure. All right. I'm going to move over to Bill here. Bill, let's hear your pick for the wild card category.
I went back and forth between two, and one is love and one is murder. So I'm going to go with murder because what's more romantic? I'm going with the Dateline piece from season 37 with Bill Hader as Keith Morrison. It's The Mystery of the Chopped Up Guy. And it's a Steve Buscemi hosted episode. He's in a love triangle with the very unattractive Kristen Wiig, who was called Beautiful, but it should be in sarcastic quotes. And I mean, we've talked about Bill Hader and his impressions. This is up there for me as one of my favorite impressions by him. The oh ah, and you know, he's talking to Taryn, and Taryn said he saw something floating in the water, and he says, "Was it Wilson the volleyball?" No, it was a dead body. Oh, okay. So and then he's interviewing Steve Buscemi, who's the murderer in this love triangle, and he says, you know, I took a machete. Well, you gotta. But I mean, the Keith Morrison. If you've never seen the Keith Morrison Bill Hader actual meetup, it's hilarious. I recommend it. He appreciates the impression that's done of him, and Hader was spot on in all of these scenarios. So this is my pick: Mystery of the Chopped Up Guy, season 37.
Very interesting pick here. Yeah, I've seen that video of Bill meeting him, and yeah, definitely would recommend that as well. Haynes, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Bill always comes with the most unique picks. He's got a brilliant SNL mind. So this is another one that I had not thought about, but very intriguing and great to reminisce over it for a minute. I wish that I'd watched it more recently so that I could, really see every moment of it. But this is a good pick. There's no doubt about it.
For sure. All right. I guess that leaves me left as the last person to give their pick in this category. I do want to give a quick shout out to something that I was going to pick earlier, but ended up not going with. The Avatar Sex Gone Wild. This is a sketch I completely forgot about and is definitely worth watching just to see Bill Hader's prosthetic legs just going up and down in a humping motion inside like an Avatar pod. And of course, Andy Samberg and Nassim Pedrad in full-on Avatar makeup and costume. Maybe if Avatar 2 actually comes out this year, we'll get a sequel to that sketch. But my pick is as a recurring character from my era of the show. The era that I watched in high school. I actually am surprised how many times they brought back this character. And I watched a couple of them in preparation for tonight, but I'm talking specifically about the Paul Rudd edition of this character. It is Fred Armisen's Roger Brush. And if you guys don't remember, he is basically this producer who is, in charge of this kind of daytime talk show hosted by Kristen Wiig, who they talk about, love and relationship and sex. And every time they do the sketch, they show the little bumper of, the show, and then it just pans over to Fred Armisen looking like almost like a Harvey Weinstein-esque producer on stage. And he has to be in charge of the show and host the show for the evening. In this scenario, it was because of clear water coming out of Kristen Wiig's butt. So that's why he had to host. But yeah, I mean, this is just like a classic Fred Armisen character for me. It's basically just an opportunity for him to roast all these people who like genuinely need help, which I think is like a great premise. And Bill Hader also is in these sketches as like the stage manager with this like really monotone voice, taking questions from the audience. One of the good lines from this sketch is, I forget who it is talking about their husband. It might be Vanessa Bayer talking about how their husband has a really small penis. And a great bit in these sketches that Fred Armisen is always like, what? Like, you gotta speak up. I can't hear you. And she just keeps like repeating it. And he's like, what did you say? He has a small V-neck, and just keeps repeating it. And then eventually you find out that the husband is in the audience. It's Bobby Moynihan, and they pan over to Bobby Moynihan, just, devastated. There's also, Paul Rudd is in it, and he's, talking about how he's having issues with his boyfriend, and Fred Armisen's like, what do you mean? You mean girlfriend? Just, very just funny stuff. Good to see Paul Rudd in there with that cast. And this is a character that I really enjoyed Fred Armisen when he would do on the show. So I'm going to turn it over to Haskell. Haskell, do you have fond memories of the Roger Brush recurring character?
Just I have a picture in my head, like the way he sits in the chair, like looks like an uncle who like went out and played catch with like the nephews and nieces, and then like was like, I'm sitting in this chair and I ain't getting up. Like there's just sort of like a just stuck there vibe to it. Obviously, fish out of water is one of the most general forms of comedy, and SNL does a great. I love when SNL kind of can throw somebody hosting in a situation that they shouldn't be hosting. So wonderful pick, and I'm just in honor of him, I'm gonna say like this the rest of the episode.
Honestly, though, why are we even making picks? Like we know who's winning gold this round, right? I mean, that's been established, right?
Yeah, there is math. There is math that there's somebody on the panel that could still win. Things really don't go my way, yeah, so as the votes get tabulated here, let's just run down what the 4 picks were in the wild card category. They are the nude beach sketch. That was Haskell's pick. Stefan's Valentine's Day clubs. That's Haynes' sketch. Then Bill picked the Dateline mystery of the chopped up guy. And then finally, I picked Roger Brush. His sketches. So the votes are in here. The votes are in here, and somebody on the panel, might be have a little bit more of a chipper step. I don't know what I was trying to say.
They heard the cries of the angry mob. They saw the torches, and
I was trying to say pep in their step, but here are the
penis in their step.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. The bronze medal is going to Stefan's Valentine's Day. The silver medal is going to the Dateline mystery of the chopped up guy sketch. And the gold medal is going to Andrew Haskell's nude beach pick. And I'm left with a big old goose egg here. So the math is happening here. I'll say math is happening for sure. And I'm gonna calculate these points up to see the final results here. But I do want to hear from you guys. How do you think you did in your picks, Haynes? I mean, do you feel good about how you did here tonight?
I mean, I know where I sit at this point. I feel like yeah, I don't know. I'm going to end up in like 3rd place probably. I don't think that shifted the meter much for me. One honorable mention, something that I thought was fun that we didn't talk about of weird situations, is the sleepover sketch with Adie Bryant when she's acting like super creepy toward Ryan Gosling. I thought that was a really funny one. Are you done with the math now?
I'm done with the math.
Before we get to the math, can I just say these Superfan Takeovers, we used to be like, oh, I picked that too, and we'd get along and stuff. And then John came along one day and was like, we're doing drafts, we're doing Olympics. Next week, you guys are boxing. Like,
yeah, it's like he's not here, but he's still influencing, this negative energy that I don't have for you guys. But when we get in the Superfan ring here, it somehow comes out. But all right, here is the final vote tally. The points across the board. I think everyone did a great job. We talked about some great sketches tonight, but there can only be one winner. And in 4th place, we have Haynes. In 3rd place, don't call it a comeback, we have Haskell. And as it stands right now, we do have a tie between myself and Bill, if I did the math correctly. And who really hates ties on the show is John. So we got to think of a very quick, tiebreaker here. Haynes, Haskell, anyone have any ideas on what we can do here? I mean, should we each have to pick a sketch now and just sell it right off the bat?
I think each of you guys has to pick one more wild card sketch, and this incredibly biased judge, who I do not approve of at this point, will make the final decision.
All right. We are going, Bill, just, we're going to speed round it because we're running out on time here. Bill, do you have a pick that you're ready to talk about?
I certainly do. I'm going to go with my other pick for wild card. That is the all-time classic, very sentimental, Love is a Dream with Jan Hooks and Phil Hartman. Tom Schiller film from season 14. Also appeared on the 25th anniversary, the 40th anniversary, when Phil died and when Jan sadly died as well. Jan plays this old woman who walks into a bank and goes to her safety deposit box, pulls out a tiara, and the music starts. And she's transported back to being a young woman, and she starts dancing with Phil. It was clearly the best moment of her life. And, we cut to, goes from black and white to color and then back to black and white at the end. Very, very touching. An actual song, little known trivia. It's from a movie called Emperor's Waltz from the 40s. And that's Bing Crosby singing the male part. They didn't have a female part in the movie. So it was done by a Broadway star from the 80s called Patricia Norcia, who recorded that just for SNL. Very little known, can't find it very many places, but she deserves some love on that as well.
Bill wins.
I mean, that's a
Bill wins.
He
just pulled out.
I mean, here's the thing: is like I'm going in a completely different direction, and I think this does not bode well for me winning. But I'm just gonna say it here, real quick. I'm going with the Miley and Kyle Mooney sex tape as my pick. Now, this is a sketch that, if my memory serves me correctly, this might have been Kyle's first SNL Cinematic Universe sketch. This was during his first season. He was still a featured cast member. It was in the fall, I remember, because it was around the time of like the MTV Music Video Awards when Miley, danced and, the whole internet went ablaze. But no, very funny sketch that they brought back again once as a wedding pre-tape of basically Kyle, comes out of his dressing room because Beck's knocking on the door, and Beck and Bobby are there, and they see that Kyle and Miley are getting down and dirty, and they got a camera involved, and they're basically like, dude, like you're with Miley Cyrus, it's crazy, and like Kyle's basically like just embarrassed about the whole situation, and is just like, like she's just really clingy, like we finish each other's, and then like the doors close behind them, and she goes sentences like in the background. And, then, they go back in and she's got water bottles, and Kyle's like, oh, she wants to pour water on her clothes for a wet t-shirt contest. And I've been named the head judge. And just like so many really good Kyle Mooney lines in there. He says that he doesn't want to, put his friends in bad situations and, pressure them to go to all these concerts because he got tickets to every single concert. Not just her concerts, every single concert. And, he doesn't want to be with her because, the fact that she's like 100 years old, which he then finds out she's not 100 years old. She's 20. But yeah, no, I mean, just a very solid Kyle Mooney sketch. And to think this was probably one of his first ones to get on the show in this vein. I'm pretty happy with this pick, but, I want to hear what you guys think. I want you guys to have votes because we actually, between our mystery judge and you two, we actually won't have a tie here. So I want everyone to give their vote. Haynes, who you got?
Only because I am just so impressed by the different levels of consideration going into this pick, not out of any sort of like bitterness. I think I am going to vote for Bill on this one. But as always, you did a great job hosting. Loved this experience with you. As much as it looked like everything was rigged in your favor, and I think we might be looking into this further. But I'm going to vote for Bill on this one.
Yeah, Haskell. I feel like I know where you're going to go. I was giving you some shit all episode. Who you got?
Sammy, love you, babe. Mean it. Voting Bill.
And, it didn't even matter your vote because our mystery judge also voted for Bill. It was a clean sweep. I'll happily take the silver medal. And Bill is the winner of tonight's episode of the Superfan Takeover. Bill, we're all very proud of you, buddy. I guess we have to
in this Chili's tonight.
And like I said, you're now the designated Cupid. So guys, hang around Bill if you're trying to find some love. But that is it for tonight's episode of the Superfan Takeover. I had a lot of fun talking about all these great sketches with you guys tonight. Before we go into plugs for the general show, I do want to give the panelists a chance to plug. I'm going to start off with Haskell. Got anything to plug?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so happy I was able to make it on the metal cabinet or whatever Haynes called it. Follow me at Andrew A. Haskell. I have stand-up dates all over New England. You can see my work on the Boston accent, and I have something very special in the works that, with luck, will help me expand my own SNL coverage. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for having me, guys. I can't wait for next time.
Definitely. It was really great to have you on the show tonight. Going to move over to Haynes. Haynes, thanks again for being on the panel. Got anything to plug?
I mean, you can always find me on Twitter at SNL Has a Cast and Instagram at Candrew Attitude. I didn't want to be on your stupid coin stand anyway.
Yeah, it's officially called the coin stand. The Andrew Haynes Memorial Coin Stand is what we'll call it for next year's episode. And finally, our winner, it was really neck and neck between the two of us, Bill, but, you pulled at people's heartstrings, and, I give you credit where credit is due. Where can the people find you?
Well, when I can finish first with three great minds as yourselves, I take that as quite the honor. So I'm pleased. I think we're all winners here tonight. You can follow me at Twitter and Instagram at BKLove73.
For sure. And before we go, if you guys have not had the chance to watch last week's By the Numbers show, it was a great episode. They talked about the January shows, all the stats and numbers, and that was with the stats guru, Mike Murray, Nicole, Darren Patterson, and of course, John. Also, if you have not had a chance to check out the other Superfan Takeovers, definitely do so. And please let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. And if you enjoy what we're doing here at the SNL Network, please consider supporting us on Patreon. That is at patreon.com/the SNL Network. There's a ton of cool perks on there. You can become an SNL Network podcast guest on the Patreon feedback show. We also have exclusive news in our Facebook group, and you get there's a chance to participate in the SNL Stories interviews episodes with SNL alumni. So a lot of cool perks on there. And next week, be sure to check back here where John will be back in the hosting chair on Monday night with something fun to be announced. Please make sure to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at the SNL Network, and subscribe to the podcast if you're not already subscribed on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And for myself, I am Sammy Kay. I've been your humble host this evening. You can follow me at that Sammy Kay on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And for myself, Bill, and the Andrews, we'll see you next time on the SNL Network. Have a good night and happy Valentine's Day.